Welcome back to the Seafarer Social Podcast. This is a fantastic episode where I get to speak to one of my favorite seafarer influencers out there. It's Mr. Captain Thomas Lindegaard. Many people are familiar with him. He is a captain on board a Maersk vessel. He is part of the board of directors for Maersk as well, and he is somebody that I've worked with for the last month or so, doing some fantastic campaigns, and I'm absolutely honoured to be able to have this conversation with him today and dig a little deeper into his career, his background, and find out some more about this fantastic man. So thank you very much, Thomas, for joining me today.
Thank you very much, Carl, for giving me the opportunity. It's my pleasure.
Well, it's an absolute pleasure for me as well. So I think the best place to start is let's find out a little bit more about your career path and experience. You've had a very impressive career, from chief officer all the way up to captain, and it's just been, now board of directors for Maersk. It's just been the dream route for any seafarer, really. Can you tell me about some of the key experiences and milestones that have shaped your journey in the maritime industry?
Yeah, well, I started as a cadet in 1992. That's awfully many years ago. And then I just graduated in 96 and started sailing. But one of the key highlights, the first key highlight was when I got a job ashore in 2008 as a project manager for some IT program for the Seafarers. And that meant that I had to go ashore and work in an office and a suit and tie every day at Maersk headquarters in Copenhagen. And that opened my eyes to the other side of the business ashore, and gave me some understanding of what's going on, not only on the ship, but also on the shore side. And that kind of shaped my appetite and my motivation to have like one leg on board the ship at sea and one leg in the office, to have the whole picture of the maritime industry or what's going on in my company, Maersk. So after that, in fact, I did it 2 times more. Also in 2014, I did one other project job, and in 2018. So that motivated me to run for becoming employee elected member of the board of directors in 18. So that has shaped me for what I am today. I sail on board my ship, as I have always done, half of the time of the year, but I also do some job in the office and know the business and my company from that side.
Fantastic.
So that's quite, yeah.
How many years have you worked for Maersk then?
I started in Maersk in 2002. I was a cadet in a different company, and the first 10 years of my career was in a company called Lauritz and Reefers, refrigerated bulk cargo. But then as a young person, I sought big career possibilities, and Maersk is the most fantastic company for career options. So since then, I've been very happy.
Fantastic. So 2002, now 2024. So that's just over 20 years you've worked for the company. How much have you seen things change over those last 22 years?
Quite a lot in some ways, but in other ways, many things are still the same. Light blue ship is still a light blue ship, and it looks pretty much the same inside, and much of the equipment is the same. But cultural-wise and people-wise, many things have changed. We still have the same values, constant care, but when it comes to people, we have become more aware of the value that we as employees have, and what the employees actually mean to the company. So that I see as a very positive change that has happened through the years.
Yeah, I must say, when we talk, we always discuss things around social media. Obviously, you're an active social media user when it comes to your content. You have a large follower basis. But out of all of the big shipping companies, when you look at Maersk's social platforms, I can honestly say they're probably the only big shipping company that really focuses on a strategy where they promote the seafarer. They tell the story of the seafarers. You go on their Instagram and it's just constant fantastic content where they're covering the labor market, the people that work for them. And I think what they do from a digital aspect is just fantastic. So it's really good to know that over the last 20 years, like you said, you've seen a huge focus point around the individual. But my question to you, from sort of a business perspective, why do you think Maersk has become the biggest, the most famous shipping company in the world? Everybody knows them, everybody wants to work for them. And why do you think that is?
I think a big part of it is especially the last years after they have embraced the value of all their employees, and especially after they have went down the diversity and inclusion path, where you are being valued and appreciated for who you are when you go to work, even though you are different. We are all different, and that is being valued as something very positive, because everybody can contribute to the company via their work, and the more differences there are, the more creative ideas we can get, not only, but even in a ship where everything comes down to bolts and nuts and steel and engines, sometimes you need somebody who are able to think out of the box. So diversity is good everywhere, and we need people who get good ideas, better ideas than our competitors. So that's why I think people out in the public have now realized that they can come to Maersk and work and be whoever they are, and that's why I think a lot of people would like to come and work for Maersk. They also wanted to do that before that, because we have a good brand and quite stable. You can be sure that you have good conditions on board Maersk vessel. You will get your salary on time. You will be taken well care of. But it has become even better the last couple of years.
Which is fantastic. I think that's a really interesting point. In the public eye, people might know Maersk because when they're driving down the motorway, it's very likely they'll see a lorry with the big Maersk containers on the back. But when you went from the industry perspective and you look at it from a macro vision, actually, you're totally right. Maersk is one of the companies that's very forward thinking when it comes to diversity, inclusivity, digital thinking. And I think that's definitely one of the big reasons why, out of all of the shipping companies, they're the guys that stand at the top. I want to know a little bit more about how you kind of manage your responsibilities. I can imagine that, being a captain and you have your operational duties at sea, and then being part of the board of directors where you have your strategic responsibilities ashore, can be very stressful, perhaps. How do you kind of manage and balance those responsibilities?
Well, I do my best. My life, my schedule, my calendar, it all goes around the calendar of the meeting calendar for the board of directors. So that decide when I'm out sailing and when I'm ashore. And I still sail the same amount of days per year as I've always done. That means half of the year I'm at sea, and then half of the year I'm ashore. And then I just try to manage. Fortunately, we have internet connectivity on board the ships, so I can be updated with emails, calendar invitations, stuff from the board of directors, and even do short meetings online. Yeah, but sometimes people ask me, can I send this to your PA? And then I laugh a little bit and say, I don't have a PA, I manage everything myself. But it is possible. But it also means that when I'm supposed to be off ashore, at home, or out here my off time, I am always on the phone, communicating, texting or checking everything. But I like it a lot. I like to be involved and know what's going on. And there's a lot of people who would like to talk to me, like you today. So I'm I'm only happy to be able to.
Well, I think you're in a very unique position. I mean, I'm not familiar with any other captains, active captains that are also part of the board of directors for the shipping company. So I guess it puts you in a very unique situation where you have a perspective from both sides, which obviously creates a lot of value as well. In terms of your role as a captain, could you tell me about some of the biggest challenges you face in the modern maritime industry, and how do you kind of approach solving them? How does it change? How does being a captain in 2024 look to how perhaps it looked, say, 5-10 years ago?
And to be honest, I don't think there's a big difference 10-15 years ago. There might be some. There's more internet, that means more connectivity, that means more emails. So my job is mostly administrative and communicating all the time with the shore, but it has become more and more people-oriented. Of course, it always has been on board a ship. People think the biggest challenges on board the ship is the weather, breakdown, fire, catastrophes. So people often ask me, what's the biggest thing that has happened to you during your career while sailing? And I must say I'm so lucky that I have not experienced big storms or big fires or big emergencies. But to me, the biggest challenge on board are people in the everyday life, the crew, the interactions, the problems, the challenges that happens when people are so close together for such a long time and have to live under the same roof. And we are very diverse. We are 22, 24 people on board with maybe 7 or 8 different nationalities, different ages, and a lot of different opinions and cultures. And that can very often be a challenge. And that is what can keep me a little bit awake at night or before I go to bed. The last thought on my mind before I close my eyes, it's very often about people. And also when I wake up in the morning, the first thing that comes to my mind is something, what about this person, or are we okay? Or so that is what is I really think is occupying my mind the most. All the technology, all the emails, all the business, it's floating all the time. That's also big challenges, but what really goes deeper inside, that is when there's something with people who have problems, or we have problems on board.
What's your leadership style then? So how do you maintain peace on board and create a work environment where everybody can excel and deliver to the highest of their abilities?
I try to I try to appear as open and as approachable as possible. I try to be visible. They can see me around the ship. I don't go for inspections. I'm just there for the coffee break in the engine control room. I'm suddenly in the forward stations. So, and then I try to talk to people, try to listen, say, how are you? And meet them in their workplace while they are actually working, and just, what are you doing? And then when people start talking about work, everybody can talk about their work, but that's like a door opener to, then suddenly they will say, Captain, by the way, now you are here, can I please sign off that date? Or I have a small problem, can you? So I try to go to them. Many captains, also me, I say, okay, my door is always open, you can knock on my door. But it takes quite some for the crew to go up, all the way up to the top deck and knock on the captain's door. It's much easier if the captain goes down and are available. And I've heard some feedback from some of our cadets a while ago, and they say they like to be on board this ship because management was very approachable. And I like that word a lot, because that means that if they will come to you, then we can fix problems before they grow into bigger problems. So that's what I try to be. approachable. That's the first point of contact, so that we can start talking about the problems.
I think that's a fantastic way to actually manage the ship, because you're totally right. From my experience with speaking to some seafarers, sometimes they find it difficult to speak to their captain or their superiors, because maybe they're worried that it will create some sort of detriment to their job, or perhaps they think that the captain will think they're not good enough. So to actually create a open space where everybody can speak freely, I actually think you're totally right, is 100% the best kind of work environment to be able to excel the best ability out of your workforce, which is really cool to hear. I want to talk about something that you and I have spoken about quite a lot, and that is your advocacy for the LGBTQ plus community, specifically within the maritime industry. So you are recognized as somebody obviously online that has a large follower basis, and one of the things you promote is the LGBTQ plus community. You're a member of this community yourself, and this is something that you and I have, like I said, had a lot of conversations around, because it's one of those things that everybody's talking about how we need to bring more women into the industry, and that's totally right. But it doesn't appear as if maybe enough. I mean, Maersk are fantastic at it, but it doesn't appear as if enough maritime companies and organizations are doing enough to recognize this community. And my question to you is, can you tell us a little bit more about the importance of diversity and inclusion at sea, and sort of your involvement in celebrating this community within the maritime industry?
Yeah, well, I've always been openly gay since I started as a cadet in '92. It just happened. I was out, and I've been so fortunate that I've never had any bad experiences through all these years. So I would like to do my best to help others who have not been so fortunate to be in companies that have been so supportive. So I would like to use my so I have quite a lot of visibility on social media, so I would like to leverage that to help others who don't know what to do. A lot of people write to me on social media and say they are on board a ship and they are afraid to come out. They don't know what to do. Should they stay in the maritime industry? Would I advise them to quit? Or so if I can do something to support people in the LGBT community in the maritime industry, I would really like to do that. It makes me really happy if I can be of any good in that. So that's why also I helped doing something for Sailors Society with this LGBT support WhatsApp groups. And yeah, within my own company, I have also stood forward and been a big part of the turn towards the recognition of diversity and inclusion, not only for LGBTQ plus people, but gender diversity and everything. And starting from 2018, where Maersk really took a big turn and started participating in prides all over the world. And later we had the rainbow containers sailing around the world in 2021 that also came on board my ship. So I think it's really important that the companies at least are aware that part of their employees, probably you can easily say 10% of their employees, also meaning 10% of the crew. And if a crew is around 20-25 people, that means you have at least 2 LGBTQ plus persons on board every ship. Now, this is just my theory, but I think it's not far from the truth. And I think it's really worth at least investing some time in recognizing LGBT seafarers, because of course we are also part of the crew and make a big difference.
Totally agree.
But again, starting with my own story, I have never experienced any bad things and never had a bad word, because on the other hand, I also believe that diversity and inclusion has to some extent always being on board a ship, even since the age of times, because on board a ship, what matters is, can you do the job? Can you be part of the team? And if you do a proper job in the team, then your team workers, your colleagues, they don't care what you do in your private life. What you do when you go ashore, who you are married to, who you love. So, the ships have always come to many different countries. So Seafarers has been used to seeing many different ways of living, many different cultures, and different sexualities. So in many ways, Seafarers also very open. And in some ways there are problems, and in other ways it's quite okay. But I think awareness and openness would benefit all. And at least you should feel mentally safe in your workplace, even if you're at sea or ashore. So I try to, with my person, be open and show that it is possible to have a career at sea and be openly gay and still get promoted, become a captain. So I hope that the young people can see that it is possible. And hopefully the companies will also see that it is possible and they should support it.
I totally agree. I mean, I recently spoke to an ex-captain, guy called Tim Lodder, who's also part of the LGBTQ community, and he said to me, quite simply, he doesn't ever want to be judged in a workspace by anything other than his professionalism and his commitment to the job, naturally. But he wants to be respected and recognized for his sexuality. He doesn't want to feel as if it's something that he has to hide. And I think that's totally right. And another thing that I think is really interesting is that when it comes to social media, the two biggest seafarer social media stars are and I have to say, Captain Tom, you are one of them. It's yourself and Captain Kate. It's yes. Yourself and Captain Kate. So, and you have Captain Kate that's flying the flag for females in seafaring, and yourself that's flying the flag for the LGBTQ community. So two communities that could do that should have so much more recognition when it comes to the maritime world. And it just so happens that the two biggest digital stars are two from both of those communities, which I think is just fantastic.
Yeah, and Captain Kate is also flying the rainbow flag on her vessels. So I have a lot of females on board my vessels. So in fact, we are on the same agenda, both of us.
Yeah, and she's in the cruise world and you're in the commercial world, but still showing that regardless of what kind of vessel you're on, we need people from all kinds of communities and sexes and whatever. So I think it's really, really powerful. And I think that, like you said, companies like Maersk obviously lead the industry. And I think that although sometimes it takes a while for maritime to sort of, Maersk is completely different. If you look at maritime as industry, they're very slow to adapting compared to other industries. But I think Maersk is definitely forward thinking, and people soon follow. Once they do something, that ripples down into the medium-sized companies, the smaller-sized companies, and eventually changes the industry completely.
The companies, they talk about big strategies, zero carbon, climate, new technologies, whatever. But who are the ones who are going to execute all these strategies on board? Who are going to push the buttons? Who are going to steer it through? That is people, both ashore and on the ships. So it's really worth investing something in the people, I believe. And so that strategy, people strategy, in fact, in my opinion, should be the top strategy, because we are the executors and we are in the front line no matter what happens in the world.
I totally agree. As somebody that doesn't work on board, I'm a shore-based maritime employee, and with that, obviously, I go to some of these events around the world. I'm sure you're aware of the events I'm talking about, and you go to these black tie dinners and you go to these big talks, and you're right. Since I started 3 years ago, most of the conversation has always been around sustainability. How do we look after our oceans? All of these things are really important, really important. But now I'm starting to see the conversation around human capital management get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just think you're totally right. Although people think that one day apparently all boats are going to be, autonomous and there's going to be robots, I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think that will ever happen. I think that it's really important that now we're starting to really see, actually, you're totally right. We need to talk more about how we're going to get more people on board, how we're going to retain people while they're on board. How do we invest in our crew? That's another thing. Many shipping companies, Maersk again is completely different, but many shipping companies don't invest in their crew. They almost see them, sadly, as a commodity. They come for a contract and they leave.
Yeah.
And it's just so wrong.
Yeah, but seafarers, we have always been an easily available commodity. There's always somebody ashore available, but it is worth investing in people. It's not. It's nothing strange. It is documented data that people who work, who feel well, they also work well, and it goes out better on the bottom line of any company who invest in their employees.
I totally agree. I want to just ask you a little question about the conversations that you have as part of the board of directors at Maersk. I know that obviously a lot of that is confidential, but in terms of conversations you've had in the past, where you've been part of a conversation of something, whether it be a strategic direction or a specific key priority, have you witnessed being part of something at the conversational part to actually being executed while being part of the board of directors for Maersk? And is there anything
definitely.
you can share with us as well?
Yeah, because everything you see that Maersk executes, whether it be new vessels or new strategies or something, well, I was in the room maybe 6 months ago when it was agreed. So, yeah, through the years, I have seen quite all the stuff that Maersk has done has been approved in the boardroom. So that is quite a fantastic experience for me to sit up there on the 6th floor and sometimes I don't even remember. Then I see something being executed. Oh my God, what meeting was that? Yes, that was a while ago, because there's always a delay. So I feel quite privileged to be in that room, definitely.
Did you have part to play in the idea for the Rainbow Container World Tour?
No, many people think I did, but it was another guy who got the idea. Rob Townley, he got the idea to the Rainbow Container and executed it. And I was so fortunate that my ship, the Venta Maersk, carried the Rainbow Container on the last part of the trip in Europe until it was landed and put on a truck to the Copenhagen World Pride in 2021. So that was not my idea, but I was on the side of it. I carried it and I wrote my signature in it, like many other people did. Through the tour around the world, it started in Los Angeles, then it went to Yokohama, Hong Kong, Singapore, through Suez Canal and Europe. In every port it was opened, put down on the pier and opened and used for customer and employee events. And then people were giving paint markers so that they could put their signature and a small message inside the container. So you can say the container was empty, but in fact it was full of a lot of hopes and messages.
Wow.
From people, customers and employees all around the world. Just one moment, I have one here. Look, in fact, I have a little box, a little copy of it here in my office to remind me. So that was a big thing and a very visible thing, a simple thing. Employees and the whole world could see the message. Yeah, it's just a box, it's just a container, but suddenly it gets rainbow colors. And I saw what it did to my crew when we had it on board. Nobody knew what it was on board or what it was about. But one evening we went down, we opened it, we went in and put our names, and I could see it start making people reflect. What is this about? The rainbow colors, diversity, inclusion. What should I write? How do I feel? And then suddenly you could see in people's eyes that suddenly it came to them that, yes, this makes a difference, and our company wants us to think this way, and our company actually has a message, right? So it came through, and also I saw customers in Felixstowe, in fact, down on the pier, who had the same experience, and also later in Copenhagen. So, and it still lives. Now we have more of them, and the customers are booking them because they want the rainbow containers for their own personal, for their own events at their site around the world. I think we have 17 pieces now, and they are in high demand.
Wow, that's super cool. I got to say, obviously from a macro effect, that is an awesome thing to do. But I got to say, whoever this chap was that thought of the idea is a branding genius. That is a fantastic.
He is. I know him. He's my friend and colleague. I hope he sees this, because he's really being appreciated.
For sure. This is a genius idea. Kudos to him. So I want to talk about social media with you. I know we've touched on it a few times. Where did this all start? Like what happened one day that made you decide to start posting your lifestyle, and when did you start to see the followers like tick up? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think across all platforms you have somewhere between Facebook and Instagram around 600 to 800,000 followers. Am I right?
On Instagram, I have 137,000 at the moment, and on Facebook, I have 420 something thousand.
Okay, my maths is
quite stable.
So like just under 600,000, but a lot of followers.
Yeah, there are some who have more than me, but that doesn't matter to me.
Sure.
I'm happy to have some. Yeah. Well, I just started quite naively in 2014 my Instagram account, and I was very happy the day I reached 1,000 followers, and it was just all about getting as many followers as possible, see how far you could get. But then in 2017 I got a new vessel, the Madrid Maersk, a big 400-meter vessel. I was the first captain to take her out from the shipyard in South Korea, and there I had a lot of very nice photos to post of this big new vessel. So I got a lot of new followers. I got a lot of traction on my Instagram account. So that's where it started growing like a snowball effect.
I see. And the people that follow you, I know that we have had a discussion, and some of them maybe don't follow you for the right reasons, but how big is the community of people working in maritime, interested in maritime, fans of maritime, that's part of your follower basis?
I'm not sure, but I can see statistics on my accounts, and there I can see 75% of my followers are young men between 20 and 35 years. So, and from a lot of countries all over the world, but some of the main countries are India, for instance. Oh. So I assume that there's a lot of maybe young men who are interested in the maritime world, who would like to see what I do. So I think a big part is people who are interested in the maritime world from a professional point of view. Then there are also a lot of people who just like to see fantastic sunsets, how crew works on board, and just because it's exotic. So I don't know what the split is, but some are really interested in life on board and the maritime industry, but also a lot of just people who like to follow.
Sure, that makes sense. In terms of the content you post as well, a lot of it is simply sharing a moment, right? So you'll be on deck and you'll see a beautiful sunset, like you said, or fantastic colors, something very unique. The things that you see through your eyes, not everybody in the world gets to experience. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's primarily what you like to capture on your social media, are those special moments. Am I right?
Yeah, not only. I would like to show the life on board and all the positive stuff, all the positive things we have on board. Of course, everywhere in every workplace there are less, and not everything is fantastic. But I would like to show the positive world on board the ship, how our life is and how my life is. I'm not so technically minded, so I don't explain and teach so much about, here you see a radar, here you see a crane, this is how we do. But I would also like to show people, my crew on board, who they are, how they work, and now they are happy, and the good parts of life on board. And in the beginning, I would also like to show me as a whole person, my private life also. I also do that sometimes when I'm not on board the ship, but I also keep it a little separate.
Nice. And I think you should post whatever you want, and having some privacy I think is still super important. I want to ask you a question about whether or not you think social media should be encouraged for seafarers to use while working at sea, or something that should be discouraged. And the reason why I ask that is because, from my experience speaking to seafarer influencers, they say that when because they have amassed a large following already, the company they work for might see this as a great opportunity to get good PR out there, right? So they have an influencer who's posting about them, and if they're saying good messages, that works really well. But if, say, for example, there's a cadet or a rating or something that is a creative individual that wants to create a large follower basis, then that's seen more as a risk and sometimes discouraged by the shipping company. So what's your thought on that? And do you think that in the future, I know you could probably only really speak for Maersk, but do you think that in the future, more companies will encourage their seafarers to use social media and promote their lifestyle?
Well, in general, I of course think that social media is a big plus to us seafarers, because now people are sure they can now see our life on board. We are so many thousand kilometers away that otherwise that would not be possible. We would always be invisible. Now suddenly we have visibility. People can see that we are actually there. So I think that's really, really important. Not only the public, but to me, my family can see where am I, what am I doing, and get a better understanding of my life, and also everybody else. And that would also, and I have seen it, especially during the recent pandemic, that with the visibility that the seafarers got through social media, we have gained a lot more appreciation for what we are doing. So it's really a big thing to us seafarers, and I encourage everybody to post as much as possible. And my company Maersk also does that, because it shows the life on board. It's of course also free advertisement for the company, and good, hopefully good publicity. And there comes a risk with it, of course, to the company and also to you personally. But we have in our contracts that we should only post positive things. We are not allowed to be disloyal. So I think if every company has something like that, it can be managed, and then it's only a big advantage if your employees will show positive things from their everyday life. That is a big thing to any company. You cannot buy an advertisement for the same it cannot be valued enough how good advertisement directly from an employee is. Any advertisement company cannot produce the same content at all, because it's genuine, it's honest, and it's real when it comes directly from an employee instantly at this moment. There's nothing better. So it's good value for the employee, for the company, for people who sees it. It's good for everybody. But of course, it should be. It also gives. I know I have a big responsibility with the content I post towards my company or to the person I post with. So, but it can be managed, and I think in the future, much more of it.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Authentic, user-generated content is the most powerful kind of content there is. Captain, I'm completely respect your time. I know that you have to continue working. For those who don't know, Captain Thomas is currently on board right now. So I'm going to leave you with one last question. And that is, you mentioned a little bit then about the future. and you think it should be encouraged more when it comes to social media. But just genuinely speaking, looking ahead, what trends do you foresee in the maritime industry, and how is this industry preparing to navigate these changes?
Our industry is a little bit funny. It's one of the most conservative and slow industries in changing. But on the other hand, there are so many things going on at the moment, so many different new initiatives, and of course the climate and environmentally friendly ships, and everybody has been talking about that for years. The next thing is AI. Everybody's talking about AI. Yeah. Again, to me, I would like to talk about people. Again, that trend. Because even though you bring in AI, you still need people somewhere in the loop. So I would like to focus on the people agenda. There's all the other agendas, they come and go, but the people agenda is, of course, unbiased. To me, it's my personal most important agenda, but I think that will remain through all the other challenges that we will face.
And so it should. Closing remarks from me. I'd just like to say, firstly, thank you so much, Captain Thomas, for taking the time to speak to me today. As you know, I'm somebody that spends a lot of time on social media when it comes to the maritime industry. And honestly, I speak to seafarers from all around the world, India, Georgia, Ukraine, Philippines, and everybody I know knows Captain Thomas. So I think that, you might not hear this enough, but I'd like to sing your praises and let you know just how much fantastic work you're doing to inspire the next generation. Thank you so much for giving
Thank you very much. And to me, then it's worth it all. If I get that feedback, then it's worth it all.
It really is. And I genuinely believe that there is a whole group of people that are inspiring to become a captain purely based off watching you as a role model. And I think this industry needs more role models. And you certainly are one. Thank you so much, Captain, for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Thank you.